Okay, so we're going to look at measuring today, and we're going to look at measuring the length of something in millimeters, centimeters, and meters as well. Now, in a classroom, we'd have a lot of different ways of measuring length. We might have, well, we definitely have lots of rulers. We'd have tape measures. We'd also have some longer tape measures too. The one thing that I would say is that in a lot of pencil cases and stationery kits that the children bring in, are a lot of amazing coloured stationery and rulers that bend this way, bend that way, fold in half. You can see through them. And I've got an example here. I love the colour of this ruler. However, and it will give a straight line. When you're underlining the date or something, it will give a straight line. However, it doesn't show millimeters accurately. So there's no way of using this ruler to actually measure a line to any degree of accuracy. It only shows centimeters and half of centimeters. So rulers like this wouldn't be as mathematically accurate as something that I've got here. The other thing to note with a ruler like this is at the very end here, sometimes the edge will be 0, whereas sometimes 0 is inwards a little bit. So that's a really important thing to note as well. So before you do any measuring, just have a look at what ruler you're using when you come to measure as well. A tape measure like this is good for measuring really long distances. I wouldn't use it to measure anything that's less than 3/4 of a metre or a metre anyway. And then these are brilliant because they can go around, so we'll use these to measure the size of someone's head or to measure something that's not a straight, hard edge. And these are brilliant. The only thing with these is to make sure you're looking at the correct side. There might be inches, there might be feet, or anything measured in there. So you've just got to make sure you're looking at the correct size as well. Right, so you may be wondering, why do we have 3 different measurements for the same thing as a length of something? And it's important that we have these 3 different measurements. A millimeters, the smallest one we're going to look at today. And that's really important. If you're doing a scientific experiment, or maybe you're building something and you need it to be extremely accurate, then you need to rely on these millimeters to make sure that what you're measuring is extremely accurate. Or maybe you're measuring something that's really quite small. So if I'm measuring this stick bot's leg, and I want to see how long his leg is, then if I measure it, if I said it was 3 centimeters, that would be too short. If I said it was 4 centimeters, that would be too long. So I'd have to use the millimeters to make sure it's an accurate measurement there. So that's why we use millimeters, to be incredibly accurate and to measure small things as well. And then you might be thinking, well, that's brilliant then. Why don't we just use millimeters and centimeters? And why do we bother with meters? Well, sometimes you might be measuring something that's really long. You might be measuring the size of a football pitch, or you might be measuring the length of a shark, or you might be building something that's quite big, a pagoda in the garden or something, and you need something that's going to be easier to measure than in centimeters. So rather than going hundreds and thousands of centimeters, then we use meters. So there is a relationship between these 3 measurements, and I've shown it here in a bar model. Every 1 centimeter is worth the same as 10 millimeters, and 100 centimeters is worth the same as 1 meter. So if someone comes to me and says, I'm growing a courgette, my courgette is 10 centimeters, then I know in my brain that 10 centimeters is the same as 100 millimeters, because 1 centimeter is the same as 10 millimeters. And then if someone comes along to me and says, that I've just put a new lamp in my garden, it was 200 centimeters tall, I know that they also mean that it's 2 meters tall, because if 100 centimeters is the same as 1 meter, then 200 centimeters is the same as 2 meters, and I can show that. I know it keeps going in and out of focus, and that's really annoying. But I can show that with another bar model down here, that 2 meters is the same as 100 centimeters, and then 100 centimeters there as well. So we've got 200 centimeters altogether. So when measuring things with a ruler, there are some rules that we have to abide by. You must make sure your ruler is the right way around. Let me show you what I mean there. On this side, it's not showing centimeters. So if I started measuring on that side and counting these as centimeters, then I get the wrong measurement. So I've got to make sure that I'm measuring on the correct side. Now this one doesn't, but a lot of rulers do show that with a little unit of measurement here, a little cm. So make sure you're using the correct side. You want to start at 0. So like I said, the edge of this ruler here is 0. Whereas some rulers, it will start inside on 0. So make sure you're starting at 0. And then you also want to line up your object correctly. So for example, if I want to measure the length of this pen, if I just put the ruler in the middle like that, that's not going to help me at all. Yes, it's got to 23 centimeters, but it's not 23 centimeters long. That's better to show it there, isn't it? I've got to make sure that I line them up on 0 correctly. And it's not like this, it's lined up exactly like that. So then I need to make an accurate reading. So if I go along to where it finishes, and it finishes there, so it's not 14 centimeters, it's a bit longer than that, and it's not quite 15 centimeters. So this is where I use my millimeters now. So I go 14 centimeters, 14.1, 0.2, 0.3, 0.4, and I would write that down as 14.4, oh, too many jumps, 0.4 centimeters there. So this decimal point is really important as well, because just like money, the decimal point showed the difference between whole pounds and parts of pounds. This decimal point is going to show whole centimeters and parts of centimeters, and a millimeter is just part of a centimeter. So remember, there is 10 millimeters in 1 centimeter. So here I'm saying that there are 4/10 of that millimeter, which if I draw it on my bar, it would be about there. Okay, so that the pen was 14 whole centimeters, and then there's 4 millimeters here. There. So today, what I want you to do is to have a non-computer day. I want you to go around the house, see what different measuring tools you can find, have a look at them, see the difference between them. Do they start at 0? Have they got centimeters? Have they got inches? Have they got meters? Have they got feet? And go and measure things. Go and measure objects around your house. Can you find something that's less than 5 centimeters? Can you find something that's above 15 centimeters? Go into your garden, measure your sunflowers, measure your plants. Okay, this is a non-computer day. I don't want you doing work on your computer. I want you to watch this video and then go and enjoy measuring things. The one thing that I would say is you can take pictures of things you measure if you want to and upload them, but I don't even expect that. I just expect you to use the time to go and explore and have a bit of a play around with measuring things. Enjoy.